Welcome. This is Astrology Insight Now, a weekly forecast program with astrology and other ways to help you make the most of your week and to heighten confidence for daily life. It's run by Pamela Cuccinell, that's me, the astrologer, and I invite you to find out more about my work at insightoasis.com. I look forward to your joining us every week. Please share with your friends, and here we go. The week of October 13th, 2025. Monday in the United States is considered Indigenous Peoples Day, and some people see it as Columbus Day. This is still a bit fraught as to what people want to honor and pay attention to. I think people who listen to me a lot probably know my opinion, but again, coming from New York and being no stranger to parades and what was known as Columbus Circle in New York City, it's a very weird person to honor, considering who he was, as we know from history. Indigenous Peoples Day is a nice thing, holds an acknowledgement of how the United States was forged, but we are in very unusual times where alternate facts, fake news, deep fakes, and a movement that wants to eradicate history instead of plumbing deeper and really discovering what history is. So, as we know, those of us who study history or are interested in it, it's written by the conquerors, and it is valuable at points in time to reflect, unearth, and recognize where true information lives. And this is all part of archaeological and anthropological studies, which are wonderful ways to find out about history. Philosophy aside, I prefer to call this Indigenous People Day, fraught name for a gazillion reasons. I think it may morph, shape shift into another title as ideally more awareness comes in, but we're not really in these shedding light times at this time. However, saying that, I also recognize that because we're in a period of so much fast change, which has been happening pretty much since the turn of this century, the onset of this millennium, and certainly Pluto in Capricorn. Now we're in Pluto in Aquarius. Monday the 13th, the moon is in the sign of Cancer, which I think is very poignant on this particular day that I'm talking about in the United States. Of course, the recording and the information I give goes beyond just one country. But since this large, wealthy country is going through such throes of change, it has an effect on basically the world as it goes through its, I would like to think, growing pains, but perhaps it's also a bit of dying pains. Pluto is the symbol of death and resurrection, and always when we go through transits of the planet Pluto, something ends, which leaves way for a resurrection, new beginning. So I am not of the belief system that we change and grow without grief and a recognition that something has to pass in order to give new life to what's next. Now, the big question, a believer that when we hold light to go and what we believe is possible to create, we allow space for that to come in.
Something very interesting happened in my world as I just said that statement. My microphone decided to die. So here I am again saying what I said, that Pluto transits always have us confront or deal with situations that can't hold anymore. And what's available to us is to step through the portal into what is coming, what is possible. The longer we hold back and refuse to walk through that portal, the more destruction and chaos occurs. There is no guarantee as we walk through the portal that we are going to avoid the kind of situations that have to do with release, composting, letting go, creating something new, regeneration. And admittedly, there's always components of grief, reflection, sadness, recognition. And the more we allow that recognition, the greater the acceleration and acceptance of where we're going next. And I am definitely curious as we go forward in these times of great transition, how we invite in and allow the inevitable process of profound change. And I think one thing to look at with the moon in Cancer on a day like today, which also there's a moon Jupiter picture in the sky, which really invites in opportunity, especially the connections that are through loved ones or people that maybe we don't even know we love. That sense of community and connection, the sense of what is home. And I think it's really important to recognize how many of us have to reestablish and connect to whatever those roots are. I was talking earlier today with one of my Mexican friends who's a wonderful teacher, healer. She's from Indigenous community here, and she has a real desire to teach ceremony and help people connect to roots, even people who don't come from the part of the country or the world or the tribe or culture. But she recognizes that we all have a longing to feel this connection to basically the earth, nature, ancestors. And if we distill it down to where we all came from, it's really from the same source. And people who want to eradicate that reality can do that in their need to do that. But those of us who recognize that human beings evolved and came from a common place and then created vast cultures and civilizations. And we can look historically at the ones that have been destroyed for reasons we know or we don't know. Like here in Mexico, the Mayan civilization, it's still quite mysterious. Yes, Roman civilization, we have more information on. But these great civilizations that ended up being destroyed or fell apart, there is an apex to where civilizations go and what they can achieve. And then the question becomes, can they morph and shift into something that allows through growth and evolution. So these are things to contemplate on Monday the 13th, and to invite in opportunities, exchange, connections with people who give you that sense of common ground. What is it that grounds you? Where can you spread your roots into? Who is it you can break bread with, share thoughts with? Who are the allies in supporting the world, the goal, the ambitions, or the quiet things you have to put in place at this point in your life? Not everybody is thinking in terms of big, broad expansion, goals, or how to make changes move the world. But as each of us work in ways with what we have, and do it in ways that build community and common ground, we are establishing a more whole and healthy society. Pluto goes direct on the 13th. And when Pluto goes direct, or actually when it goes retrograde, when it stations in place, so it looks frozen in the sky from our perspective. We had master telescopes to see so far out. But what happens is it allows in new revelation and unearthing. And this can actually feel almost physical, where there's a breakdown or something that is revealed. Doesn't usually happen on that day. It's a process. I think in terms of watching a film or reading a great novel, a well-written book, there is that initial foreshadowing. And we don't necessarily see it if we're caught up in the story or in our life. But the indication is starting to be revealed. And so that's what is before us in the coming weeks and months. And what we will see in perhaps our personal lives, especially depending where Pluto is transiting in your personal horoscope. It's at early degrees Aquarius right now, or on the world stage, is revelations are going to be coming up, especially things that have to do with finance, power, and societies interconnect or don't. So this is a great day for prayer, reflection, and I think for certainly people who come from the United States or are marking this day that had this holiday for basically a colonizer that now is morphing into, well, not all throughout the country, but it's morphing into an acknowledgement of what the colonizers did to the country and what the cost was. And as we reflect on a large nation like the United States and the cost of that historical beginning, but also the mixed messages of what that beginning means, this is a wonderful day to basically look at how you want to view it, how you want to talk about it, how, if there's young people in your life, you want to share that information with them, or older people in your life who feel threatened by the changes, or shall I say better, the revelation. Anyway, overall, this is a very strong day. We're in the waning moon cycle, but it's a strong day for creating bond, for buttressing support systems, and working with what it is you want to manifest from a place of heart and nurturing. The moon goes void, of course, at 1:05 a.m. on the 14th, Tuesday. It enters the sign of Leo at 6:47 a.m. And this is another day that I see as being very strong for creativity, ideas, joy, teaching, breaking out of old systems, shining. What is it you want to shine over Tuesday and Wednesday? What are the things that you want to put your light on, put attention on? And it may be for some of us who've been working on projects or something that in this waning moon cycle, we are nearing completion or at points where we want or need acknowledgement. And Tuesday is a great day for allowing that to happen. On Wednesday morning, we may feel some friction or frustration. And perhaps, one way this could work is, let's say there is that desire to share and invite in more creativity and input from others. But perhaps there's some frustration or things aren't going or starting the way you would like. Some tempers can be very short also. Once we get into midday, and the times I gave are Eastern time, so you need to modify depending on where you are. But once we get to midday, we're in this nice groove through the end of the day of just really pushing and pulling forward with whatever it is we want to make happen, create, share. It's a great time to celebrate, to be in situations that stimulate, that allow you that sense of what's igniting your ideas, curiosity. And in this waning moon cycle, the new moon is until next week. But in the cycle, as it's moving towards that new moon, it's a great time to kind of taper down whatever it is you've been working on, but also start to leave yourself open to new things that might come in. And they might come in just as little flickers or ideas like fireflies in the night. Oh, I saw that. Where'd that go? And it's important to give yourself these thoughts and ideas that stimulate. One of the things I love about this crazy digital world we live in now is that it's so easy to take notes if you want to make visual notes with your phone camera. Just little ideas, little things you want to capture. Of course, it's important to then review them at some point. Otherwise, you just have a lot of ideas on a camera roll. But even just acknowledging and freezing the moment sometimes helps to seed the idea in a way that allows you to capture it more. So basically Wednesday the 15th, especially after midday, terrific day for productivity, ideas, stimulus, and moving the energy to the next place you want it to be, shining, dancing in the light. Thursday the 16th, the moon goes void, of course, at 1:06 a.m. And it doesn't enter the sign of Virgo until 2:06 p.m. So that morning, early afternoon is just a super time to play, if that's possible. You can work on things already in motion. Leo is a fixed sign, so it's terrific for just paying attention, focus, staying with something you want to do. But it also can be a great time to just enjoy moments of quiet productivity and allowing some creativity. Thing about the void of course moon is we don't usually encourage starting something new. Sometimes it happens. And that can be okay because sometimes the moon is moving through your horoscope in a way that it's engaging a point in your personal horoscope, which makes it more active. But in general, the messages are to use that time as a period more of rest, focus, or just taking in instead of putting out. The moon, once the moon enters Virgo, we may feel like we're ramping up what it is we want to produce, make happen, targeted goals. The thing to keep in mind on this day, late afternoon, evening into Friday the 17th, and actually carrying through into Saturday until 5:10 p.m., is that moon sign in Virgo is really requesting that you have the adequate support you need. So remember when I was talking about support systems and connectivity early in the week, especially Monday? This is when we can find out what wasn't really working for us. Sometimes what happens, and especially when the moon is in the sign of Virgo, is a person might be very focused and working in the way that they do, and they're good at it, or they feel they have to take this on, whatever it may be. But the value in how we can really excel in productivity is when we're able to work in ways where we allow in the support, the gift, the other action from people around us, systems, institutions, flow, that allow us to really hit that finish line in a way with grace. Otherwise, it's arduous. We're pulling it along. And it can feel rather frustrating for some of us on especially Thursday, where maybe we're frustrated because someone isn't coming through in the way we thought, or we get a message or information that something we were relying on or thought was going to happen is not going to go the way we need it to go. So here's the thing. It's really important to look at, okay, so this isn't going along the way I thought it might. How do I work with what's available to me? And perhaps, how do I change, modify, or reach out to someone different to make happen what it is I want to make happen or where I want to go? Because part of what this may look like is that our original intention of who was going to help or how this was going to happen is not taking form or shape. And instead of getting hung up on what isn't going the way we had planned, it's important to look for, with very clear eyes, where can that support system or structure come from that maybe wasn't the personal ideal, but still can bring you to the finish or where you need to be. And doing that, it looks like Friday the 17th can be far more satisfying with how we work through it. And the realization by the 18th of what systems maybe we'll design differently becomes very clear and apparent. So an example is you're on a team and you're bringing a project to its end goal, but one or perhaps more people on the team who are people you like just are not able to show up for whatever reason. Could be nothing that's like a bad intention, just that your wish was, hopefully they can show up that day, even though they've got another commitment or obligation that may make that not happen. So our deep wishes of what we would love to have happen are not always grounded in reality. And so these days are asking that we ground in reality how this is going to happen. And maybe it's not another person. Another example I can think of off the top of my head is, let's say you want to achieve a certain goal in a test or some sort of class or something you want to enter into, but you haven't done the study that's required or put things in place that allow you to perform well when you're on the testing ground, how you're going to achieve that. It can be a reckoning, but it can also prepare you to say, okay, when I shoot for this again in 2 months or next year, I am going to be prepared. Or it's the interview that one feels didn't go as desired. These are all ways we can learn to get better. So Saturday to the 18th, the moon is void of courses at 5:10 p.m. Doesn't enter Libra until the next day at 12:01 a.m. So I think Saturday evening is great to spend doing things that are regenerative. Sauna, hot tub, massage, eating comforting soup, putting your feet up somewhere where you're able to just chill, do things that allow you reconnecting time. Cat on the lap, dog that you can stroke, cuddles with a companion you adore. These are all ways to allow yourself that sense of self-care. And finally, Sunday the 19th, I love this day. The moon is in the sign of Libra. It is a super juicy day to just enjoy beauty, enjoy company, enjoy culture, listen to music, have conversations that uplift you, write, create, dance, paint. We are on the crest of Dark of Moon, and so you are enjoying the gift of your life. Whatever that looks like, give yourself moments to really sink in to enjoy the gift of your life.
You have been listening to Astrology Insight Now. Please share with your friends, and if you'd like to make a donation, you can do so at astrologyinsightnow.com. Have a stellar week, and we hope to see you next time.